you know when I make a standalone video about a specific book, that book has really impacted me. Welcome to another book review video. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week and then movie reviews here at the weekend. In the description box below you will find all of my social links, including my blog and my Goodreads, where I do have a written review of this book if written reviews are more your thing. So yes, we're going to be talking today about Girlfriends by Holly Bourne. I loved Holly Bourne's adult novel that came out a couple of years ago, Pretending, but this one just blew me away. As soon as I picked it up, I was like, yes, loving this one, enjoying it loads, even though the characters did put me through quite a lot of anxiety. I was really worried about the characters, what they were going to do next and what was going to happen to them. So let me read you the official blurb. From the day they first meet as teenagers, Fern and Jessica are best friends. Despite their differences, they are there for each other throughout everything, navigating the difficulties of growing up and fitting in, that is, until Jessica crosses a line that Fern can't forgive. But now, more than 10 years later, Jessica's unexpectedly reappeared in Fern's life. A lot has changed for them both, but can their relationship be different now they're older? Is it possible for either of them to rewrite the role that they have been cast in, or will their shared history ultimately be doomed to repeat itself? Now, there are definitely care warnings in this one, but if you open the book, there is an instant care warning at the beginning, and then Holly Bourne has written an amazing author's note at the end of this book that kind of goes over a couple of the care warnings as well. I loved the author's note. Quite often I'll go and read the acknowledgements or the author's note first, but I didn't want to be spoiled for anything, / I didn't know there was necessarily an author's note in this one, and so I didn't read it until the end of the book, but the author's note makes so much sense, and as hard as I related to the entire book, I relate to the author's note as well. So if you are going to read this book, make sure you read the author's note too. It's well worth it. It's very detailed and kind of gives a really good background to why Holly Bourne made some of the choices in the novel that she does. So, yeah, this is one of those books where I was like, I don't want to go out. I want to stay home and read my book. I don't want to watch this TV show. I want to get back to my book. I don't want to do any more work now. I want to get back to my book. This is one of those books, that you cannot wait to pick up, which, I mean, we'd all rather be reading anyway, but sometimes there are books that pull you back in regardless. The main reason, or the thing that hooked me into this book, is the fact that we have these dual timelines. So we have Fern and Jessica, and we follow Fern's journey throughout, and then we see Jessica through Fern's eyes. But Fern's journey we have in present day, and then we start when Fern is going back to school in year 11 or year 10, I can't remember, GCSE year, anyway. And through that and the timeline, I worked out that Fern would have basically been the year below me at school. So what Fern is going through in her teenage years and going through at school during those GCSE years, I really related to, because it was basically the same experience as me. Fern had a lot of time off for health reasons. I had my attendance in year 10, I think, was 40 odd %. Wasn't great. So again, I could relate to that. When she's going back to school, she's kind of worried about the fact that her friends will have forgotten her. And that's something I could really relate to. So that just hooked me in right from the beginning. And then kind of her life experiences throughout then, as we follow her going through her school years, college years, and what happens next, first jobs, first boyfriends, etc. That was all just so relatable too. And what's great about Fern, what's great about the way authors are writing characters these days, is that she is so flawed, but she is so flawed in the same way that we recognize our own flaws. So she questions the same things in her head that I question. She kind of worries about imposter syndrome at work and in romance and in friendships. And again, as a woman living today, about the same age as her, I could just relate to all of those so much, and that links in a lot with Holly Bourne's author's note as well. But then we have Jessica, and Jessica is, she is, obviously she's an old friend, but she comes in and it's like such a whirlwind when she comes in both timelines. And she's just that person where she's very attention seeking and she's very kind of loud and impulsive. But as a teacher, you can kind of look at her and go, but what's going on there? What's going on with Jessica? And Fern, being just Fern on her own, was fine with. But when Jessica gets involved, that's when I started to be sort of anxious about what's Jessica going to do next? What impact is that going to have on Fern? Oh, what's going to happen now they're in this situation? What's going to happen now Fern and Jessica have done this? A lot of it made me very, very anxious. And, there were definitely reasons for me to be anxious. And, they go to parties with boys and they sort of put themselves in situations where you're like, please don't do that. And that's where sort of some care warnings come in. So Jessica, did make me a little bit anxious. Really, really related to Fern. And then I just loved this dual timeline following these two really, really close friends. I love the fact that we would get to a point in the sort of historical timeline in the teenage formative years, and then something would happen, but instead of finding out the fallout of that, we would switch back to present day timeline. Present day timeline would go along, something would happen, and then just when you want to find out the fallout of that, we switch back to the historical timeline. And I think, when authors make this, they do it, so we do that, oh no, just one more chapter thing, and keep turning those pages. And yes, it did make me avoid other commitments, but that's okay because I read this over a space of about 2 days because I enjoyed it so much. I think if I'd had 0 commitments, I probably would have ended up reading this whole thing all at once because I did love it just so much. You can see my sort of reading journey reading this one in my Bout of Books reading vlog, which will be, I think, the next video that I'm posting. But yeah, the book, of course, will be linked below. Make sure you check for that care warning, but otherwise, absolutely adored this book. It is definitely one that needs to be read. It's fantastic. It's just so relatable and so for today's world that we live in, and I just highly, highly recommend it. I loved it, and it's definitely one of my favourite books of the year. With that being said, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that Bout of Books reading vlog coming your way very soon. And hit that notification bell so you get notified when my movie review posts this weekend. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what's the last book that you wanted to avoid commitments for, or have you found your book of the year yet? I will be back with another video very soon, so I will see you then. Thanks for watching.